The last letter? This is the story of John, a young soldier fighting in World War II. John was just an ordinary guy who had a pretty ordinary life before the war. He was born and raised in a small town in England. He had a loving family and a good job as a mechanic. But when war broke out, he felt compelled to do his part for his country, so he enlisted in the army. He was sent to fight in one of the most brutal theaters of war, the Eastern Front. The conditions were hellish. The winters were cold. The summers were hot. And there was always the threat of death hanging over him and his fellow soldiers. They fought against the Germans for months, taking heavy losses and making little progress. It was during one of these battles that John met his best friend, James. James was from Liverpool. He was a bit older than John and had a dry sense of humor that often made John laugh even in the worst of situations. They became close friends, sharing their hopes and dreams for the future and supporting each other through the horrors they witnessed. James taught John how to navigate the battlefield with more cunning than courage, and John admired his quick thinking and resourcefulness. Together, they managed to survive some close calls and witnessed unspeakable horrors that left them both physically and emotionally scarred. But despite the danger and uncertainty that surrounded them, they found moments of joy in the little things. They shared cigarettes, told stories about their families back home, and dreamed of the day when they would return home and start their lives anew. John wrote letters to his sweetheart, Mary, describing the battles he fought in and the places he visited. He told her about his friendship with James and how much he missed her. In return, Mary wrote back, expressing her love and support for John and eagerly awaiting his return. Through their letters, they kept their relationship alive despite the physical distance that separated them. Then one day, tragedy struck. John and his unit were ambushed by the Germans. They fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and soon found themselves surrounded. In the chaos of the battle, John and James became separated. John found himself wounded and hiding in a trench, desperately trying to stay alive. As the battle raged on, he knew that if the Germans found him, he would be captured. So he made a desperate decision. He took out the letter that Mary had sent him before the battle and read it one last time. It was filled with love and support, and it gave him the strength to keep going. Then, with a heavy heart, he crumbled the letter into tiny pieces and let it drift away in the wind. He didn't want the Germans to get their hands on it and use it to hurt him or Mary. It was a symbol of everything he held dear in life, and he wasn't going to let it fall into the enemy's hands. Once he had done this, he stood up and charged out of the trench, rifle raised high. He didn't know what lay ahead of him, but he was determined to die with his head held high rather than be taken prisoner. He ran across the battlefield, dodging bullets and explosions, until he reached a group of German soldiers. He opened fire, and they returned his gaze with bullets. John fell to the ground, clutching his stomach, realizing he had been shot. As darkness closed in around him, he thought of Mary and the life they could have had together. He closed his eyes, whispering her name one last time before everything went black. Meanwhile, James had managed to escape the ambush and was now on the run, trying to find his way back to John. When he finally located John's body, he was heartbroken. He sat beside his friend, cradling his head in his lap and mourning the loss of his comrade. The pain of losing John was immense, and James felt like a part of him had been ripped away. He stayed with John's body for hours, talking to it as if it could hear him, until the sun began to set and the shadows grew long. With a heavy heart, James knew he had to move on. He buried John in a shallow grave, marking it with a simple wooden cross. As he stood there looking at the cross, he felt a deep sense of sadness and loss. He had lost his best friend in the war, and he knew that he would never forget him. James carried on fighting in the war until it was over. When he finally returned home, he was a changed man. The war had taken so much from him, including his youth, his innocence, and now his closest friend. But as the years passed, he began to heal. He married a woman named Anne, who was kind and supportive, and they had 2 children, a boy and a girl. He named his son after John, honoring the memory of his fallen comrade. And whenever he looked at the grave of his son, John would think of the young man from Liverpool who had taught him how to survive the horrors of war. The loss of his son had left a scar on his soul that would never fully heal. But he knew that his friend would have wanted him to live a full and meaningful life. So he did his best to honor John's memory by living the life that they had both dreamed of before the war. The story of John and James is a powerful reminder of the human cost of war. It shows the bravery and resilience of those who fight in conflicts, as well as the deep emotional toll it takes on them. It also highlights the importance of friendship and the bonds that can be formed in the darkest of times. Their story is a testament to the power of the human spirit and the ability to endure even in the face of unimaginable adversity. The discovery of the crumpled letter in John's belongings brings a new dimension to the story. It serves as a symbol of the values and beliefs that John held dear, reminding us of the importance of love, hope, and perseverance in times of war. By understanding the motivations and emotions of those who lived through such a tumultuous period in history, we can gain a deeper appreciation for their sacrifices and the impact it has had on our world today. Their story is not just a tale of loss and sacrifice, but also of courage, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. It is a story that deserves to be told and remembered so that future generations can learn from it and honor the memory of those who fought and died in World War II. If you liked this story, you might enjoy another one. I wrote about a sniper. Click here to continue watching.